What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one, I'm going to break down something very important about NIO that's going on. I'm going to talk about a very bullish catalyst that's coming out that could help NIO absolutely explode going into the upcoming week. I'm going to talk about the delivery numbers as I break them down in a very simple to understand manner, and talk about why on earth it's looking very strong for NIO for this month that's coming out, all the data that's coming out. But before I break things down, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so make sure you take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends very soon. Check it out before they run out. It ends in just 4 days. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. All right, so when it comes to NIO, we have a lot of this data that came out involving their deliveries, their registrations in China. And I actually took all these numbers together and added them together, and the numbers look absolutely fantastic. Now, all this data came from China EV Post, which has access to looking at the registrations for the insurances in China, not to mention the sales that NIO had already for the month of July. And so far, things are looking very good for them if you just look at these numbers. Now, are these numbers 100% accurate? I can't promise you that, but based off the data they have, it does tend to be very close to the reality if you look at the last few months. So this is looking quite good. Now, we have some numbers right here. I actually looked at all these different numbers, and you can verify these numbers if you want, just looking at China EV Post. But here are how the numbers are looking for NIO. Based off their registrations, okay? But between July 1st and the 2nd, they did 1,000 deliveries or new registrations. Between the 3rd and the 9th, it was 3,100. The 10th and the 16th, it was 3,900 again. Did I say 39? I meant 3,100 here, then 3,900 here. And then we had about 4,700 between July 17th and July 23rd. Now, if you add all these up, okay, if you just add up these numbers between July 1st and July 23rd, okay, between the first 23 days of July, NIO did 12,700 of these new registrations / deliveries. Very bullish news. What is so bullish about this? Well, the first thing you have to remember is that is not the entire month. There's still 8 days left since this data was reported. 8 days of data is missing still, as July is still going on. And they're already at almost 13,000 deliveries. Very bullish. On average, and you could see they're doing about 552 per day on average based off this. Now, what about the last 8 days, July 24th through the 31st? What about the last 8 days? What's going on with these? Well, if they're only doing, or they're doing about like 552 per day in 8 days, that's going to be equivalent to some very good numbers. Now, let's just say hypothetically they do about 4,500 for the remainder of the time. Well, that once again is very awesome for them, and I do believe NIO could achieve something like this. But just to be safe, 552 times 8 is about 4,400. I'm just going to use 4,500 just for simplicity. If they give us something like, if they keep up this rate of 552 per day, they're going to give us another 4,500 in total for this period. And if you add up 4,500 to the current, almost 13,000 that they have, that's going to be equivalent to over about 17,200, right? Once again, very awesome for NIO. Very bullish news. But what if it's a little bit less than that? What if it's like only 4,000? It's still going to be over 16,700. And if it's well above this, it could be well above this as well. And it could be closer to 5,000 during the last week, because the last weeks tend to be very strong. So it's got to be somewhere, in my opinion, between 4 and about 5,000, most likely. Most likely it's got to be somewhere between there. And then that gives us this range of about, I would say between, we could say about 16,700 to about 17,700, or almost like 18,000. Whoops, let's just get this done with. All right, so we're going to likely see NIO achieve something like this. This is likely what we're going to see for deliveries based off the current data. And this right here looks absolutely fantastic for NIO. And what else is so bullish about this? If they give us 16,700 to 17,700 deliveries, look at the previous data. You will notice that for this year, okay, they did 8,500 in January. They did 12,000 in February. 10,000 in March, 6,000, 6,000, then 10,000 in June. Then all of a sudden we get like 17,000. That is a massive increase. Crazy growth month over month. Investors are going to absolutely jump on this. Additionally, look at the all-time records for NIO. They've almost always done under about like 12,000 around there for almost every single month, except for the last 2 months of 2022. You could see in November of 2022, NIO did about 14,000, which we're easily going to shatter this time around. But what about the all-time record for NIO, which is at about, this is like 15,000 something, a little bit under 16,000. Could we beat that? In my opinion, I think the answer is yes, because since we already have about 12,700, we only need 3,300 vehicles to reach 16,000 and beat this record, which is just under 16,000. 3,300 is all we need for the last 8 days. That is a much lower rate than what we've been doing. And in my opinion, I think it's very possible. So let me just show you the numbers just real quick. So if we do, let's just say like 3,300 for the last 8 days, that's like 400 per day, 412 per day, right? Very, very, very small number compared to what the average has been so far for the month. So I think it's very unlikely we're going to see NIO just like flop at the very end and barely give us like the lowest amount of deliveries at the very end. Even if they barely do that, I mean, they're still on track of beating their record. That's how crazy this is. My point is, they are most likely, based off this data, okay, based off how much they do per day, over 550 each day on average, they're most likely going to give us somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 deliveries for the last 8 days. And that's going to lead to a total deliveries of about, once again, 16,700 to 17,700, somewhere between here, most likely. Once again, absolutely destroying the previous record of under 16,000. They could give us something very close to like 17,000 plus, maybe even 18,000. Very, very bullish news. And a new record for NIO is going to cause this thing, in my opinion, to explode. The share price to explode to some crazy high number. And to add on to this, let me just mention that their previous reports, they did 10,000. They actually pumped on that. What's going to happen if they give us like 17,000? What if they give us a 70% increase month over month? Imagine that. Imagine how much this thing is going to blow up. Investors already know this. This is why the share price is just pouring to the upside. They may even have more information about their current numbers. This is very, very awesome. And if we look at the daily charts on NIO, for example, you will notice that we're forming this giant looking accumulation structure. And with this accumulation that is forming, we have very, very critical levels all the way up here. I mean, it could make its way all the way up to form this giant cup and hit like 22 and be on its way to 22. It may not go immediately up there, but it could start to form that. We have a nice bullish divergence on the daily. I've been calling this out for weeks and weeks, and it's finally starting to pump. I've been saying NIO is going to explode. You guys have to be ready. The second half is going to be very strong for them. And so far for the second half of the year, July looks very promising with the new ES6 coming out, and many investors are just jumping in for that reason, as consumers are just loving the new models and the new SUVs from this company. Now, to add on to this, let me just mention that we have a bullish divergence developing, and don't forget about these levels. Do not forget that we have a very critical level around this $15 area. We have this unfilled gap up here. I think we came very close, if not we filled this gap, but there's also the 15.25 previous support, which is now going to become resistance. That's going to be a critical zone. And above that, we have like the 16.8 area. And then, we have another unfilled gap all the way up here around 20. If NIO has strong guidance after earnings and they continue to blow us away, as long as the news remains more like positive about their guidance, their deliveries, and etc., because NIO's CEO, William Lee Bin, knows how to get investors pumped up. He knows how to do it. He's done it many times, and this just works in NIO's benefit. So we could see NIO, if it breaks 18, if the news remains bullish and they kill it with deliveries, we could see this thing go all the way up to $22 a share. It's a possibility based off TA. It is very possible. Okay? $22 a share. But for that to happen, we need some strong catalysts, we need good numbers, and we need a lot of things to go right for the company. So far, I'm very confident they're going to get good numbers, so they should be pushing to like at least 16. Maybe it retraces a little bit on money, then just starts pushing more later on. Or investors are just so excited they just don't even let it push down much. It's looking very bullish. And like I said before, I'm expecting my prediction is going to be somewhere in the middle here, around like 17,200, maybe something like that. 17,000 plus deliveries is what I'm predicting. I think they're going to give us 17,000. And I predict NIO is going to give us a new record, an all time high for their monthly deliveries. And I believe this is going to help the share price absolutely explode. That is my prediction. I think NIO is going to kill it. I think investors are going to become very, very excited. All right. So I'm leaning more bullish, but always be prepared for any possibility. We have support now at 14.5, also 14 flats. And then we have below that area, we have like 13.8 and then like, 13 plus as our supports. I want to call out supports just to be safe and open-minded, but just know I'm leaning more bullish. And I will talk more about the market for tomorrow for my last video of the week before we have some big stuff coming out. And so far, so good for NIO. Things are looking very, very hot. All right. Anyways, that's what I have for this video. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day, everyone. NIO to the moon is long term is very bright, and peace out.